This is the story about a grain of sand. And the grain of sand lived on the ocean floor, or existed on the ocean floor, along with billions of other grains of sand. And although the stories about the grain of sand, not much can be said about it, except maybe that it was content and it was aware. Not of anything in particular, because there was no need to be aware of anything in particular, but aware. Content and aware. And then a great current came along and picked up the grain of sand and carried it for a long way until it grew out, until it lost impetus and dropped the grain of sand back down to the ocean floor. But instead of landing on the ocean floor, it landed in an oyster. And when the oyster felt the grain of sand, it was irritated by it. And so it secreted a substance in hopes to relieve the irritation. And that was only momentary satisfaction because the irritation persisted. And so it continued to secrete the solution in hopes of relieving the agitation. But it never did, and so it would endlessly secrete the solution, coating the grain of sand time and time again. And eventually, the grain of sand began to forget that it was a grain of sand and that it ever lived on the ocean floor or existed on the ocean floor. And it began to believe that it was a pearl and that it had always lived within the oyster. Now we can find a lot of information and authorities with regards to the pearl and life within the oyster. Very, very little information with regards to the grain of sand and life on the ocean floor. Now the mind is similar to the oyster. When it gets something in it, it adds to it. It encases it in its interpretation and its understanding. And it keeps adding to it to the point when it just focuses on what it has created, what it has added around the grain of sand. And that's what it believes in, what it created, its own creation. And it gets lost in that until it believes that it is what it created. Now those that will say, who cares? This is enough for me to exist as a pearl, to exist as my own creation. Well, I would say that those people that say that are in the high percentile, the ones that are finding the greatest satisfaction, for the most part. I don't know anyone who's totally satisfied, who is totally content as the grain of sand was before it had picked up and deposited in the oyster. Now we inherit a system that creates the good and the bad. It's necessary, it's integral, it's a whole. It's what we create by encasing what it was that initiated the stimulation for the mind. And we live within this creation. So we live within our own ideas, and we believe in them, we support them, we prove them. But we also create all the pain, the sorrow, the unhappiness. You realize that a certain amount of people are going to fall victim to crime, mental health, war, robbers, crime. And we're okay with that, just as long as it's not us. And we say, love is the answer. Love is what we need in this world. But we don't exercise love. We exercise a form of specialization, of I will love those that are important to me, those that I care about, that are relevant to my own existence. But those that I'm not aware of or not relevant to my own existence are immaterial. They don't exist. Or they exist as a statistic, and the system will take care of them. Oblivious of other people's pain and sorrow until it affects you personally. And I see every year, Happy New Year, this will be a better year. How can it be? It's going in a certain direction. It has to have a certain amount of left and right, up and down, yes and no. It has to have it. The system is created by that, in that manner. It has to have it. I get a kick out of these politicians that say they'll correct things. And they have no idea what the constituents that are living in the pain and the misery and the unhappiness and the lack of having things that the system is now creating are existing like. They're only concerned with the upper class. Those are the ones that are most important. They say they care about the poor. They'll incorporate a system that'll take care of the poor. But the system keeps the poor existing. It requires the poor because those that have want to keep what they have. If you have more than you need, then you have somebody else's. And if you have somebody else's, then you need some way of protecting that, holding on to it. Because they want it. They want what you have. It belongs to them. I know you acquired it in the proper procedures and methods, but it was selfish. It was greedy. You were taught it. You were taught to behave in this manner, to act in this way. It's what was put into your mind. It's what stimulated you to be who you are. To become whatever it is you choose to become. It began with a stimulation. You have no idea what it was. How can it get better? How can life get better? And better for some, and even those won't always be happy. Never be content. They'll never arrive at being content. As long as we operate in the system that we have in effect at the moment. There'll never be peace. Can't be. Not even within the individual. You pretend that you satisfy the conditions of loving, but it takes a lot more than what we're doing. It takes a lot less of selfishness, of caring about who we created. And that's what we are. We're all creations of our own mind. We're affected by the outside and people in our existence, but we still form the image of who we are. Timothy Leary said, tune in and drop out. High priest of LSD. Well, I would say tune in and drop out also, but you don't need to take drugs to do it. Can, but it usually just involves you deeper into the mechanics of what you were given, into your own creation. You have to search deep within yourself to free yourself, to liberate yourself from your own creation. It's like dying. It's like separating yourself from yourself. Separating yourself from your creation. I suppose it could be done immediately, like that. I don't know how. I know to me, it's one step at a time. I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need. Eventually, that's what it'll come to. I don't need. The life that I believe I'm living is my own creation. Each day I die. Each day I die and each day I'm born. And yet we concern ourselves with death. What's it going to be like? We die every day. Some people are afraid to go to sleep because they know they're going someplace they have no idea where they're going. Will they ever come back? Truth is, we never left. We just forgot who we are. And most of us function under rules and regulations and ideas and thoughts, and limit ourselves through these regulations, ideas and thoughts. We limit ourselves by accepting these thoughts, by saying, this is what I am. Because so-and-so told me, because this book told me, because my school told me. This is what I am. And that's what we'll be, because we accept those things. Liberate yourself. Look for your real self. Sure, it might not be what the world is like, and that might deter you from looking because it doesn't appeal to you, because right now you're engrossed in glamour and glitter. But know well that you contribute to the problem, that you allow the problem to exist by participating in it.